We broke up many years ago. I ran into my rich ex-girlfriend in the elevator. She saw the kid I was holding in my arms. She panicked for the very first time. But what came to my mind was the scene of her attending a banquet hand in hand with the popular Best Actor back then, chatting and laughing cheerfully. I felt so inferior at that time. I didn't even have the courage to break up. I only dared to leave quietly. Years later, I was invited back to the city. She stopped me with red-rimmed eyes. Stop hiding from me anymore. Say you still have feelings for me. Say you've regretted every day since we split up. Say the only one you've ever loved in your life. As long as you say the word, I'll give you anything you want. When I saw Xiaowankyu again, the midsummer had just passed. It was my elder sister's 31st birthday. My brother-in-law booked a hotel to celebrate for her. I carried my niece into the elevator. Before I noticed it, the little girl pointed at the poster inside the elevator, with a curious look on her face. Uncle, this auntie is so pretty. I looked at the woman on the poster. My heart skipped a beat. It was Xiaowankyu. I heard she's been doing really well these years. Her business spreads all over the world. My niece seemed very interested in her, pointed at the name on the poster, and asked me, "What character is this?" I was silent for a moment. My chest felt a little tight. Lots of old memories filtered through my mind. The elevator door opened with a ding. I heard my own voice. Xia, the Xia from Xiaowankyu. My niece giggled, but a calm and pleasant female voice came from beside me. Sir, were you talking about me just now? I looked up upon hearing the voice, and right met Xiaowankyu's peach blossom eyes. Time seemed to stop for a few seconds. Xiaowankyu stared at me closely, as if she couldn't believe it. Soon, she went back to her usual cold and distant look. I never thought that after breaking up for so many years, we would meet again here. Xiaowankyu tugged the corner of her mouth. Her smile looked a little pale. Yi Chen. Long time no see. I nodded. Up to now, I don't even have the courage to say a word to her. Luckily, the elevator just stopped at the floor I was going to. I almost rushed out, holding my niece. Do you have a child? I was just about to answer, but my niece spoke first. Auntie, this is my uncle. Is he handsome? He's not married. He's still single now. I breathed heavily. I just felt a sharp pain in my chest. Under Xiaowankyu's burning gaze, I still ran away in the end. Halfway through the banquet, I walked outside to get some fresh air. I took a hard drag of the cigarette and blew out a nice white smoke ring. I leaned against the window, quietly watching the endless stream of traffic downstairs. I haven't lived a stable life these years. At the hardest time, had to split every penny in half to spend. Luckily, I finally made it through. It was very quiet around. The footsteps walking towards me carried a sense of proper restraint. I looked up and saw Xiaowankyu standing a few meters away. She looked at me with her hands in her pockets. Her eyes were deep and unreadable. Haven't seen you for years. You've learned to smoke now? You never had this habit before. She's always impossible to figure out. I lowered my eyes and skillfully crushed the cigarette in my hand. President Xia, you didn't come here specifically to pick on this little bad habit of mine, did you? I lifted my foot. My shoes made tapping sounds on the empty floor. It was a little harsh. Every tap hit right on my heart. When I walked up to Xiaowankyu, she suddenly grabbed my arm. Yi Chen, don't you have anything to say to me? Xiaowankyu's voice carried a sense of urgency, and even a trace of humbleness. I only lifted my eyes, then, and looked straight at her slightly red eyes. What's there to talk about between EXEs? Reminisce about the past and rekindle our old flame. I encouraged myself. I must not soften my heart. I can like anyone right now. Except Xiaowankyu. I warned myself over and over again in my heart. A good horse never turns back to eat the grass behind it. Xiaowankyu lowered her eyes and didn't answer, and asked instead where I had been all these years. I've been looking for you all the time, but I never got any news about you. What do you want with me, Miss Xia? In my eyes, my leaving was nothing more to Xia. Xie Wanqiu lost a cat. Is no different at all. If she feels bad for me today, she'll give me a little extra cat food. If she likes someone else tomorrow, I'll have to go hungry. I'm just a pet that Xie Wanqiu keeps. Seeing I looked calm and unemotional, Xie Wanqiu stared straight at me, as if she wanted to burn me into her memory. Yi Chen, you're so freaking heartless. You left me without even saying a word. How dare you? Xie Wanqiu and I dated back in college. I was still a student back then, while she was already running her family's business. Xie Wanqiu had a huge social circle, full of rich kids from wealthy families. A small-town young guy like me stuck out like a sore thumb in her crowd. She was really thoughtful and took care of every little thing in our relationship, while other people my age were still stressing over CET exams and college courses. Xie Wanqiu showed me a much wider world, boating in London, visiting exhibitions in Paris, cruising down American highways at sunset, spending money like water in Rome, blowing an average family's annual income in one night. Without a doubt, Xie Wanqiu was a very qualified girlfriend, but for me, none of that was ever my real world. There was a huge class gap between her and I. This relationship was never equal from the very start. I couldn't act like guys in normal relationships, texting my girlfriend whenever I wanted. Because she was super busy with work, I was scared of disturbing her, and when we hung out, her friends never even asked for my name. It was like they just assumed I was just a pretty-kept boy. Xie Wanqiu supported. I knew in this relationship, I would always be beneath her, and Xie Wanqiu held all the power. Until later on, I saw the A-list movie star wrap his arm around her at a banquet. They looked perfect together. Nothing like me. More than being jealous, I was just insecure. That bone-deep sense of inferiority crushed me completely. I hated myself for not being able to fit into Xie Wanqiu's social circle. I hated that I wasn't good enough. That's exactly why I couldn't stay with her any longer. With her around, I'd always feel like I had a safety net. So, one totally ordinary night, I quietly moved out of the apartment Xie Wanqiu bought me. No breakup, no goodbye. I took out my phone SIM card and cut off all contact with everyone. I told myself, next time we met, I'd be someone good enough for Xie Wanqiu. What I wanted was to be seen and respected as an equal. I moved to another city those next few years, worked my ass off to save money, and dealt with being dead broke. Many years later, I became a senior jewelry designer and got a high-paying offer to return to China. I put down roots in the city. I know, my decision was super selfish to Xie Wanqiu, but that life wasn't what I wanted. Even if we forced things to work back then, we never would have been happy in the long run. I pulled myself out of those memories and looked at Xie Wanqiu. She was more mature than she was years ago. I let out a long breath. After all these years, my mindset is completely different. I weigh the pros and cons of everything now and think through every decision carefully. Just like right now, between Xie Wanqiu and I, there's years of distance and coldness between us. She's only hung up on the college version of me, like the perfect first love that got away, etched deep in her heart. That kind of feeling, the current me can't give her anymore. I looked at Xie Wanqiu and sighed softly. I know I left way too suddenly back then. Xie Wanqiu, we will never have a future together. All the things you're clinging to right now mean nothing to me anymore. I turned to leave, but Xie Wanqiu wouldn't let go of me. She dragged me into the stairwell, her soft feminine body pressed up against mine. Panicked, Xie Wanqiu pushed me against the wall. Embarrassed and angry, I tried to push her away. Xie Wanqiu held me back, her eyes red, stubbornly refusing to let go. I'm not letting go. I let you go once already. No matter what, I'm not letting you leave this time. As soon as she finished speaking, she didn't give me any time to react. Xie Wanqiu leaned towards me aggressively. The more I struggled, the tighter she hugged me. Between gasps, she buried her head against my chest. Scalding tears dripped onto my body. She was crying. This was the first time Xiao Wankyu had cried in front of me, in this quiet, cramped space. Her voice was trembling with sobs. Stop avoiding me, Yi Chen. You said you couldn't get over me. You said you regretted every single day after we broke up. You said I was the only one you ever loved in your life. As long as you say the word, I can give you anything you want. In such an atmosphere, I couldn't say a single word. Until today, I finally realized, even Xiao Wankyu can lose control sometimes. But this loss of control might not be for me. Maybe she's having relationship troubles. Maybe it's the unwillingness she's held for years. But she clearly already has someone else. Why is she pestering me again? I lowered my eyes and gently pushed her away. You'd believe whatever I say. As we looked at each other, I watched the light in Xiao Wankyu's eyes fade bit by bit. When I walked out of the stairwell, my sister was looking for me everywhere. Seeing I looked off, she asked concernedly, "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I just came out for some fresh air." "Let's go back," Yuan said to me. "Uncle, I met a pretty aunt in the elevator today." "Zhao Chen, do you know her?" "That woman was my college girlfriend." "Oh, I see. I've been advising you all these years to give the girls around you more chances. You never agreed. Is it because of her, sis?" "No," seeing I still had a knot in my heart. My sister didn't say much more. She held my hand with a smile. "I already have a family and kids now. Of course, I hope someone can take care of you. But I care more about you being happy. As long as you're happy, it's totally fine if you never get married." She gave me a comforting look. That's true. Many people of the opposite sex have shown interest in me over the years. Those women are very enthusiastic, pretty, smart, generous, and thoughtful. But I don't have the courage to start a new relationship anymore. Actually, the problem is all on me. I've gradually lost the ability to love someone. On Monday morning, my assistant Zhao Song stood in my office reporting work. I bent over my desk drawing design drafts, splitting my attention between two things. After he finished reporting work, Zhao Song obviously paused when he spoke. "Brother Yi, there was a woman looking for you outside just now. She's quite pretty." "Did she leave her name?" "No, she only said she wanted to see you. Send her to the meeting room. I'll be right there." I pushed open the meeting room door. I immediately understood why she asked for me by name. Xiao Wankyu was acting very strange today. She was much more easygoing than usual. When she saw me walk in, the look in her eyes shifted slightly. From the moment I walked in to when I sat down, her eyes never left me. "Miss Xia, you really are decisive and efficient. You found my studio so quickly." I tugged at the corner of my mouth and looked at the woman across from me. She picked up on the sarcasm in my words. But Xiao Wankyu clearly didn't care. "Yi Chen, I'm here today to talk about cooperation with you. I want to hire you to design a diamond ring for me." The woman's eyes were cool and clear, with an inexplicable attraction. I pressed my lips together. I picked up the coffee beside me and took a sip. Only an idiot would turn down easy money, especially money from a capitalist like Xia Wankyu. Out of professional etiquette, I still asked a question. "Is it convenient to ask what this diamond ring is for?" "Just for my wedding." When she said this, her eyes were extraordinarily soft, a softness I had never seen before. The coffee in my cup accidentally spilled out. I pulled my hand back in a panic. Is the groom that famous movie actor? Indeed, for such a grand occasion, only a custom diamond ring is worthy of his status. Xiao Wankyu looked at me meaningfully. "What's wrong? Is it difficult?" "If you have specific detailed requirements, Miss Xia, you can discuss them in detail with my assistant. I'll confirm with you after I finish the design draft. I'd rather communicate directly with you. My boyfriend is very particular about things. If he's not satisfied with the design, I'll be the one who gets in trouble, right?" "Yi Chen, we're old acquaintances after all. You won't even help me with this small favor." With that, He glanced at the colleagues outside the meeting room. The threat in his tone was crystal clear. Fine, he wins. I really don't want our relationship to become public knowledge. When I pulled out my phone to add Han Xin as a friend, a pleasant smile curled up on Xia Wanqiu's lips. After she added my Han Xin account, Xia Wanqiu was surprisingly quiet after that. She never sent me a single message, nor did she ask about the progress of the design draft. For this current state of affairs, I'm actually quite satisfied with it. It saves me from feeling jittery every time we meet. But fate likes to play tricks sometimes. I never expected that after all these years, I would run into that A-list actor again. When I got home, he was just coming out of the apartment opposite mine. He looked like he was in a huge hurry. We ran right into each other at the elevator entrance. Yi Chen, the man called my name, voice laced with surprise. I turned around, my heart skipping a beat. He actually knew my name? He didn't seem hostile towards me at all. He pointed at my apartment with his long, slender finger. Do you live here? Yeah, I bought it not long ago. He seemed to have realized something. He smiled faintly. Oh right, I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Xia Wanqiu's older brother. My name is Xia Zhangyang. Xia Zhangyang shook my hand in a friendly manner. So, the person who attended the dinner with Xia Wanqiu back then was her own biological brother. No wonder this girl suddenly wanted to buy a place here. It's all because of you, huh? Would it be okay if I come in to sit for a while? Of course, you can. No problem. I was so shocked by all this information that I led Xia Zhangyang inside in a bit of a daze. What would you like to drink? Fiishan Mutai is fine. I smiled at Xia Zhangyang. He had a very clean, neat appearance. He'd been sizing me up quietly ever since he walked in. There was curiosity in his eyes, along with a hint of gentleness. Aren't you curious how I know your name? Sitting across from him on the sofa, I quietly lowered my eyes. It must have something to do with Xia Wanqiu, right? That's right. I only found out you existed after you two split up. Back then, my little sister was looking for you like crazy. She would have dug the whole city up to find you. But she never got a single lead on you. You might not believe this. Wanqiu has always been a very cold, distant person. This is the first time she's ever acted like this for a guy. I told her, maybe you had your own reasons for leaving. If you're fated to meet again, you will. Later, she looked for you for more than half a year. Slowly, she started to give up hope. I watched her become more and more depressed as time passed. Until one day, I went to visit her. I think I'll never forget what I saw that day for the rest of my life. She was lying in the bathtub, with a deep cut on her wrist. It felt like something exploded in my head. My mind went completely blank. Xia Wanqiu, she tried to kill herself over me? At this point, Xia Zhangyang finally couldn't hold back his tears. I felt a chill run down my spine. The blood in my veins felt like it had frozen solid. Xia Zhangyang covered his face and cried. He said through his sobs. I was so panicked at that moment. I immediately called an ambulance. During the hours I waited outside the operating room, I thought of 10,000 different worst-case scenarios. Luckily, the doctors managed to save her in the end. When Wanqiu woke up, she was completely hopeless. The first thing she said when she opened her mouth was, "Why did you save me?" Yi Chen, my little sister, was once so bright and full of life, and she ended up completely broken like this. Tears streamed down his face, falling faster and faster. I felt a sharp, stabbing pain in my heart. I never knew any of this had happened. Mr. Xia, it's all my fault. I let her down. Xia Zhangyang gradually calmed down. He wiped the tears off his face. He smiled and shook his head at me. It's not your fault. My sister is just too stubborn. Once she sets her heart on someone, that's the only person she'll ever want. You might think she's cold and distant on the surface, but she really loves you more than anything. Now that you're back, no matter if you to get back together or not, I hope you to can clear up all the old misunderstandings. Xia Zhangyang stood up. and patted me on the shoulder. I looked up at him and saw encouragement in his eyes. It was like he was telling me it was all okay. An overwhelming sense of guilt flooded my mind. I think I need some time to process everything that happened between Xiao Wankyu and me. I held Xiao Zhangyang's hand and finally nodded my head. On Friday night, young guys and girls were dancing their hearts out on the dance floor. At a booth not far away, our group of friends was celebrating our buddy Chen Hao's birthday. Noticing I was always distracted, he sat down next to me. Who would have thought Xiao Wankyu is this devoted? Even I was shocked to hear this, let alone you. Gone was his usual playful grin. Chen Hao looked dead serious. Before, I thought Xiao Wankyu was just a spoiled rich girl, and she didn't care that much about you. But looking at it now, that might not be the case. I lifted my eyes to look at Chen Hao. He curled his lips into a smile. Xiao Wankyu came to see me a few years ago. She looked super worn out back then. She looked like she'd lost her soul. Kept asking where you were. I was still mad back then. So of course, I wouldn't tell her. Thinking about it now, if I'd told her back then, she wouldn't have killed herself. Chen Hao sighed guiltily. He downed the glass of wine in front of him. I lowered my eyes. My chest felt so tight with pain. I'm heading out first. You guys have fun. Before Chen Hao could say anything, Angela stood up first. I didn't drink tonight. Let me drive you home. I looked over at Chen Hao. He shrugged innocently. Angela is a high school classmate of Chen Hao and I. Ever since I came back to the country, she's been pursuing me really aggressively. Chen Hao told me. She had a crush on me back in high school. I was just too slow to notice back then. I had no idea how she felt. No need to trouble yourself. I'll just take a taxi. I declined with a faint smile. Angela still insisted on driving me. You've been drinking. Don't take a taxi alone. I pass your place on my way home anyway. It's no trouble at all. Looking at her eager face. Since she'd put it that way, I couldn't really say no anymore. My place is really close to the bar. It's only a 10-minute drive. The night air was icy cold. Only two figures stood under the street lamp. I smiled at Angela. Thanks a lot for this. For driving me home so late. My sincere gaze seemed to make her a little embarrassed. She smiled and tucked a strand of hair back from her face. Don't mention it, she said. She took a deep breath. She looked a little nervous. Are you free this weekend? I want to take you out for dinner. I'm sorry. I might have to work overtime this weekend. I looked at Angela apologetically. She seemed worried about troubling me. She quickly tried to let me off the hook. It's fine. You just got back. You must be swamped with work. Whenever you're free later, you can hit me up anytime. I'm really sorry. I'm not looking for a relationship right now. Maybe you should see other people. Don't waste your time on me. I turned her down straight up. Angela's smile froze on her face. In some ways, Xiao Wankyu and I are equally stubborn. I turned to leave. But Angela called out to me from behind. Her gaze was burning hot. Yi Chen, I'll wait till the day you're willing to notice me. Scared I'd reject her again, Angela got in her car the next second. Till the car disappeared into the night. I let out a soft sigh. Love is such a tortuous thing. Even after I turned her down so many times, Angela still gives me her whole heart, hoping she can win me over one day. But affection isn't love, unfortunately. Angela's feelings for me, I can never reciprocate them. I pulled my coat tighter around me and walked quickly to the elevator. The elevator door dinged and opened. A strong smell of alcohol hit me right away. At that moment, Xiao Wankyu was sitting haggardly in front of my door. Even looking this messy, this woman still had that noble air about her. You couldn't take your eyes off her. Next to her feet were empty wine bottles all over the floor. How much did she even drink? My eyebrows twitched hard. We stared at each other in silence. This was the first time I'd seen Xiao Wankyu looking this pitiful. Her lips were pressed into a thin line. She was quiet for a long time. Then she asked softly, "Are you?" She didn't finish the rest of the sentence. It died in her throat. I unconsciously clenched my hands so hard my fingertips turned white. "Who's that woman that dropped you off just now? Are you two dating now?" Shil Wankyu looked haggard. Her almond eyes were brimming with tears. "So that's why you drank tonight. It's not what you think." I looked at Shil Wankyu. I reached out to help her up, but she brushed my hand away. There was even a hint of hurt in her eyes. After a long while, she gave a self-deprecating smile and said, "Yekin? What on earth do I mean to you?" With that, she stood up and kicked the soda can in front of her away. She stumbled to the elevator entrance. Shil Wankyu just left like that. She didn't even stay to hear my explanation. That night, I slept really restlessly. I dreamed about all the old memories I shared with Shil Wankyu. They flashed through my dream like a slideshow. On my 21st birthday, Shil Wankyu had prepared a surprise for me. That was the happiest birthday I've ever had in my life. She put a watch on my wrist and promised she'd only love me for the rest of her life. We hugged and kissed as everyone watched enviously. I've always had trouble sleeping well. Shil Wankyu would always wait for me to fall asleep first. Every night I woke up from a nightmare. She'd pat me gently and say, "Gin, it's okay, don't be scared. It was just a dream." All those nights I spent abroad, God knows how much I craved the scent of Shil Wankyu, but all I got was cold emptiness around me. I admit I'm a coward. I never dared to show Shil Wankyu how deeply I cared for her. I was scared she'd look down on me for it, and I could never stand sharing her with another man. So all those years I was abroad, I refused to come back home. I was terrified of hearing that Shil Wankyu had gotten married. When I jolted awake from the dream, the wall clock said it was a.m. I got up to pour a glass of water. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I pressed the answer button. It sounded really noisy on the other end. The girl on the phone sounded a little relieved and happy. "Brother-in-law, thank God you picked up. Sister Wan asked us girls out for drinks today." She started drinking like crazy the second we got into the booth. No one could talk her out of it. None of us girls could stop her. She's completely passed out now. "I'm pretty sure it's because of you. Do you think you can come pick Sister Wan up?" My temples were throbbing like crazy. I quickly asked for the address. When I got to the bar, Shil Wankyu's childhood friend Wang Mai was waiting for me at the door. "Brother-in-law, you're finally here. Sister Wan's still passed out inside. Was that you who called me just now?" "Yeah, that was me. When I called you earlier, Sister Wan was calling your name over and over." I froze mid-step. Wang Mai looked back at me confused. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." The second we walked into the booth, I saw Shil Wankyu passed out inside. Even as drunk as she was, she still slept so peacefully. Her fair skin had a faint pink flush to it. She looked even more lovable than when she was awake. I carried Shil Wankyu to the back seat of my car. I turned around to leave, but Wang Mai suddenly called out to stop me. "Brother-in-law, I know given your current relationship, it's rude of me to call you that. But Sister Wan said it's okay. We've never called anyone else that, only you." There were barely any pedestrians on the road by then. In the quiet air, I leaned against the car with my hands in my pockets. "You guys never even asked for my name back then." I let out a soft laugh. The whole thing where people thought I was Shil Wankyu's kept boy, it's always bugged me. Wang Mai could obviously tell. "You got it wrong. Sister Wan never meant it that way. She said you were young and shy. If we paid too much attention to you, it would make you uncomfortable. In private, we only ever saw you as our only brother-in-law, no one else. Sister Wan has had a really hard time these past few years. As her friends, it's not our place to say more. Wait till she wakes up. You can ask her yourself." I let out a long breath. Every time I'm around Shil Wankyu's friends, I've always been well taken care of. They never judge me for coming from a different background, or treat me differently. Turns out Shil Wankyu had already paved the way for me behind the scenes. I gave a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. That idiot, Xiao Wankyu. How many more things is she hiding from me? That 10-minute drive felt like a whole lifetime. Xiao Wankyu was mostly sober by the time we got home. The elevator slowly went up floor by floor. Neither of us said a word. We were on the same page about it. Why did you buy the apartment right across from mine? I asked in a soft voice. She broke the silence. Xiao Wankyu gave a soft hum in response. She was being good and told me the truth right away. I wanted to see you more often. I said nothing back. I walked out of the elevator first. Crashing at my place was totally off the table now. Xiao Wankyu had to obediently punch in the passcode for her own front door. I was just about to tell her to get some rest. All of a sudden, she used a random burst of strength and yanked me straight into her place. In the dark, Xiao Wankyu shut the door smoothly, like she'd done it 100 times. She pressed me against the back of the door, stood on her tiptoes and kissed me. Her kiss, reeking of alcohol, crashed over me completely. The whole thing happened in one smooth move. No hesitation or dragging of feet at all. Xiao Wankyu's kiss was burning hot, wild, and out of control. In my dazed, half-conscious state, I held her waist tight against me. She turned on the entryway light. The whole room lit up bright in an instant. Xiao Wankyu pressed herself against my chest. Flames of affection were dancing in her eyes. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have refused to listen to your explanation. I waited for you for hours tonight. When I saw that woman drop you off, I got so jealous I lost my mind. I couldn't control the look on my face. She looked like a little kid who'd done something wrong, begging silently for me to forgive her. How many years has it been since I last saw that shy, flustered look on Xiao Wankyu's face? That giddy, teenage girl kind of expression. I couldn't even remember if I tried. My cheek started burning. It felt like my whole face was on fire. I explained to her patiently. It's not what you think. She's been chasing me. But I turned her down. I didn't agree to anything. I could see her gaze growing warmer and more intense. Starlight was shimmering in her dark eyes. I suddenly lifted Xiao Wankyu up by her waist. My hoarse voice rang out next to her ear again. Zhao on. I can't hold back anymore. The next morning, I woke up in Xiao Wankyu's bed. I hurriedly took off my shoes and walked out of the room. Xiao Wankyu was in the kitchen making congee. When she saw me come out, she set a steaming bowl of millet congee on the table. Try my cooking. See how it tastes. I sat down on the high chair. The aroma of the millet congee was teasing my taste buds. I stirred the congee in the white porcelain bowl aimlessly with my spoon, but I had zero appetite at all. I looked over at Xiao Wankyu, who was still bustling around. My gaze darkened a little. How did you get that wound on your wrist? As soon as those words left my mouth, Xiao Wankyu froze for a second with her back to me. She turned around to face me. She looked like she didn't dare meet my eyes. I walked over to her side. I tried to reach for her hand, but Xiao Wankyu stopped me. Don't look. This scar is so ugly. I didn't listen. I insisted on taking her hand anyway. When my fingertips brushed over that scar, my eyes were already filled with tears. It's such a deep scar. I didn't even dare to think about the worst-case scenario. If Xia Zhangyang hadn't happened to come visit her that time, the consequences would have been unthinkable. If Xiao Wankyu had actually killed herself because of me, I would have lived in the shadow of guilt for the rest of my life. Xiao Wankyu gently wiped the tears off my face. Why are you crying? I'm fine, see? How could you be so stupid? The first 6 months after I couldn't find you, I hated you with every fiber of my being. I hated you for leading me on and then dumping me like that. Later on, I slowly figured it out. It must have been because I wasn't good enough. That's why you left me. But you have to believe me. From the day I started dating you, I knew you were the only one for me. I swore I would marry you one day, no matter what. The softer Xiao Wankyu's explanation was, the harder I cried. She'd been through so much pain all these years. She scrambled to wipe my tears away in a fluster. Finally, she just kissed my tears away directly. Yekin, you really are my fatal weakness. I've been hating you all these years, I know that. But I can't stand seeing you get hurt even a little bit. Even just watching you cry makes my heart ache so bad I can barely breathe. My whole life, am I just forever stuck on you? I admit I was too reckless and stubborn back then. But some things still need to be cleared up once and for all. There were way too many misunderstandings between Xiaowankyu and me. I pulled Xiaowankyu over to the couch and sat down with her. When we were dating back then, I actually had zero sense of security in our relationship. I was just a broke college student with nothing to my name. But you were already super successful in your career. I was scared everyone would think I didn't deserve you at all. I didn't dare share happy things with you. I was even more scared to share the bad things with you. Because I knew you were always so busy. I was worried I'd disturb you when you were working. In this relationship, I always felt inferior the entire time. You've always been pretty reserved and aloof. That made me even more convinced you were just messing around with me, that I was nothing but a caged canary you kept for fun. After I finished speaking, Xiaowankyu stared at me in disbelief. Her tone was totally certain. I never thought that way, even for a second. She seemed to finally realize the huge miscommunication between us. Aiken, when it comes to our relationship, how could you have this many misunderstandings? Xiaowankyu snuggled into my arms. Do you know why I fell for you? I shook my head. Xiaowankyu explained everything to me patiently, one by one. The first time I met you, it was at Quanning Cemetery. You were wearing a plain, neat white shirt. You were holding a bouquet of chrysanthemums in your hand. I happened to be at the cemetery visiting my late father. It was pouring really hard that day. Our clothes got all soaked through. When I walked past you, you handed me an umbrella. I asked you what you would do then. You said your home was really close by. Later, I watched you run off in the rain. When I came to my senses and went looking for you, you were already nowhere to be found. After saying that, Xiaowankyu chuckled softly. It was the first time I'd ever met a guy like you. You were so kind that you'd rather get rained on yourself, just to give your umbrella to someone who needed it. Later, I used my connections to track you down and started dating you. Back then, I thought to myself, once you graduated from college, we'd get married. But you're way too independent. You refuse to rely on me just because of my status. And unlike other regular guys, you never clung to me, wishing you could stay with me 24/7. Actually, I'm super possessive. When I see you getting close to other women, I get jealous. When I see you chatting happily with your classmates, I even hate myself for not being a student too. So we could have shared topics to talk about. So I could only pretend I didn't care as much as possible and respect every decision you made. And that's exactly why. You got the wrong idea that I don't love you. Right? All these words from Xiaowankyu were things I'd never heard her say before. Turns out she cared about me this much. Now that things had come to this, everything was out in the open between us. And because of all that, I didn't dare show how much I loved you in front of you. I was afraid you'd look down on me. A caged canary doesn't deserve to love their benefactor. I didn't dare confess my true feelings to you either. I was scared I'd be the one who gets hurt in the end. Silly, in this relationship, I'm the one who's felt inferior this whole time. I was scared you'd think I have nothing going for me except money. I even thought before, it would be fine even if you only loved me for my money. At least I actually do have money. Too bad that's never what you cared about. I felt a jolt in my heart. The thing that I'd been hung up on this whole time also came out of my mouth completely. Actually, that's not the only reason I left. Back then, I thought brother Zhang Yang was your real boyfriend. Xiaowankyu was super shocked when she heard that. Aiken, why didn't you ever ask me about that? I was just accompanying my brother back then to attend a business dinner, that's all. We went through every little thing from the past, one by one, and I finally realized that the 7 years of misunderstanding between Xie Wanqiu and I was way deeper than I ever thought. Xie Wanqiu laid in my arms and talked a lot that day, until she got too sleepy to keep talking. She leaned against me and fell asleep. I kissed her lips gently, carried her into the bedroom, and tucked her in under the covers. Ever since Xie Wanqiu and I got back together, she wanted to stick by me every single second, and take me with her everywhere she went. She was scared I'd disappear again. I knew she was still afraid I'd leave her again. I could totally relate to the joy of getting something lost back. After that strong rush of happiness fades a little, people tend to feel more insecure than ever. Even though I told Xie Wanqiu over and over again that I would never leave her again, when we sleep at night, she still subconsciously holds me really tight, like she wants to merge me into her life forever. Xie Zhangyang was obviously super happy for us too. When he saw us standing together, he cried as he laughed. A month later, I proposed to Xie Wanqiu. It was in the villa we prepared for our wedding. Xie Wanqiu's childhood friend Chen Hao was also there. Red roses were spread all over the room. Every corner was decorated really carefully. Xie Wanqiu looked so beautiful that day. She was absolutely glowing. I got down on one knee and looked at her affectionately. The thing I was holding in my hand was the diamond ring she asked me to design before. I have to say, she's really been plotting this all along. She'd been setting a long trap to catch her big fish ever since I returned to China. I took a deep breath. I pushed down the nervousness in my heart. Zhaowan, this is our 6th year together, but I was away from you for 4 whole years in between. The smog outside the window is slowly clearing up. The light is getting brighter, and you're looking clearer and clearer right in front of me. It's a totally ordinary day. This morning, you were lying right next to me, sleeping peacefully in my arms. I realized I just couldn't take my eyes off you. I didn't want to fall asleep, 'cause I was scared. The second I closed my eyes, you'd disappear from my sight again. Maybe you don't know. While I was staring at you, I suddenly made a bold decision. I'm gonna propose to you. Even if we're really short on time. Even if it scares you. This is a real, proper proposal. My girl has been devoted to me for all these years. This time I'll be the brave one. I want to take you home with me. What about you? Will you come home with me? From where I'm standing, Xie Wanqiu's hands are trembling slightly. Everyone's cheering and yelling, "Marry him! Marry him! Marry him!" I suddenly felt so lucky. All these years, Xie Wanqiu had been waiting for me this whole time. Maybe in the countless sleepless nights ahead, I'll still remember this feeling of jealousy right now. Xie Wanqiu picked up the diamond ring and slipped it onto her ring finger. From now on, I'm your Mrs. Liu. The cheering around us got louder and louder, but Xie Wanqiu only had eyes for me. The moon outside was shining silvery bright. I pulled her into my arms, wildly overjoyed. Yi Chen, what did I do to deserve this? You're the best gift the world has ever given me. Xie Wanqiu has no idea. She's the real gift God sent to me. I never told Xie Wanqiu. Many years ago, the day we met at Dinning Cemetery, I had just lost my closest family member. I sat quietly on the cemetery steps for a long time, until the sky slowly got dark. Xie Wanqiu walked past me back then. She smelled so nice. Then the weather changed a bit. It started drizzling at the cemetery. Xie Wanqiu walked over to me, took the black overcoat from her bodyguard's hand, and draped it over my shoulders. Your clothes are too thin. Don't get sick from the cold. It's getting late. You should head home soon. Even though she was shivering from cold herself, the way she looked at me was still so warm. Maybe Xie Wanqiu will never understand. Such a simple gesture from her meant so much to me back then. I nodded. I saw her clothes getting soaked by the rain. I rummaged in my backpack and pulled out an umbrella for her. I never thought that such a simple gesture would be remembered by Xie Wanqiu for so many years. I was blooming right when I was at my lowest. Everyone else wanted to pick me. Only Xie Wanqiu passed by me and held an umbrella over me. You just keep blooming. I'm right here for you.